Hey, let's get going. Okay, so today's theme, inspired by none other than this guy here, William Shakespeare. Expectation is the root of all heartache. And yeah, expectation, it doesn't have to be heartache per se, but it can be sort of anything from mild disappointment to surprise or, something that's unexpected. And by definition, most of us go to bed at night expecting that we're going to wake up in the morning, right? That's just sort of baked into our existence. But then there's more subtle versions of that sort of existential expectation where, well, when I get together with certain people, I expect them to be a certain way. I expect them to be friendly towards me or nice. And it's also always very disjointing when we bump into people and we realize like, oh, they're in a very different place. So my expectations aren't being met. And I think our ability to adjust or adapt to a different reality than what our mind was telling us was being expected. That's a pretty cool skill to have. So here's a definition of expectations: beliefs, assumptions, or anticipations about what should happen in the future. And it's usually based on prior experiences, desires, or even social norms. Right? I walk into the restaurant, I expect people to be courteous and friendly. And when that, person that greets you at the door is not that, it feels jarring. It feels uncomfortable. Why? Because our expectation wasn't met. We had an idea as to what it should be like, and when it wasn't that, then it can mess us up. And obviously, expectations show up in all kinds of areas in our lives, in our personal lives, our professional lives, our relationships with our kids, our spouses. And anyway, so I thought it'd be cool to shine the spotlight of this very normal, very human tendency to have expectations, and just to sort of activate a little bit of additional awareness around when it's happening and potentially what the cost is that we pay for holding on to our expectations really tightly. So, yeah, let's try it out. So, close your eyes. And just notice where attention goes as you remove active sight from your experience. Noticing sounds, sensations in the skin, other parts of your body. Notice breath coming and going. And my intention in today's session is not to moralize this idea of expectations, because the truth is we're designed to have expectations. Our brain is a prediction machine. It takes past experiences, and then every present experience that we have is always filtered through, how does this compare to last time? So it's totally normal. I think it's also really good to just notice the role that expectations play. So, for example, right now, my guess is we all have the expectation that we'll be able to complete this call. We're safe. The Wi Fi connection will work. The reason I know these are implicit expectations is because when any of those things go awry, it's typically upsetting to us. So if the Wi Fi were to cut out, or if my audio failed, my expectation for things going a certain way wouldn't be met, then it would be a little bit discombobulating. Of course, so starting really big, noticing what your expectations or your ideas about safety are right now. Expectation is that you are safe. No one's going to burst in through the door and harm you. Sort of anticipating that the immediate future will match our ideas of what we think it should be. Think of other people in your life. So bring to mind someone with whom you expect to have an interaction with, maybe after this call or this afternoon. See if you can notice the expectations that you have of that encounter. Are you expecting they will talk to you? Expectations about how they will treat you? Expectations of they'll be thinking or what their opinions will be. And I'm not suggesting you change those expectations. I'm just suggesting that you become aware of them. And then ultimately, when you do actually encounter this person later on today, it'll be interesting if you can remain curious about whether or not your expectations were met. And if not, what's the impact on you? How can you adjust? Another realm where we hold a lot of expectations has to do with our relationship to our physical being. Oftentimes we find aches and pains. Like I've been noticing my right knee has been making a crunching noise that wasn't there before. Every time I walk downstairs, I notice it and I realize, like, oh, I had this belief or this expectation that that wouldn't be the case. So I find it a little bit unnerving when I notice it. Or waking up in the morning, maybe feeling a little more tired than you thought. There's other aches and pains going on that were unexpected. And again, just noticing, what does the mind do with that? Was the mind expecting versus what actually happened? And then just think of the news cycle, all of the exciting things that are happening in the world at large, and notice if any of them are distressing or challenging. Notice that embedded in there, some discrepancy or some difference between your expectation of what should be happening and what seems to be happening. Again, not saying you shouldn't have expectations or preferences. It's good to notice that when the mind has expectations and a fixed idea of what should be happening, it becomes challenging when something else happens. So I think expectations or ideas, they're great until we hold on to them a little too tightly and become rigid and inflexible about what actually ends up happening. So that's the awareness that we're stimulating today. Take a deep breath in through the nose, long, slow out breath through the mouth, relaxing the neck, the throat, shoulders, chest. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and in and out. Keep pushing the air all the way out, belly, the chest. Hold for 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Open your eyes, come on back. Yeah, I think the expectation thing is an interesting dance. Like I said earlier, I think we all have preferences, and those are totally fine. I think they become expectations when we start gripping a little too tightly, and yeah, just see if or how that plays itself out in your life throughout the rest of the day. Like where do you have expectations, and how does that how does that cause friction or pain? So see you tomorrow, everyone.